In Chapter 6, I am masking the entire A-10 Warthog in preparation to paint the third and final camouflage color of Federal Standard 36081 Aggressor Gray TCP 1318. This is a darker gray than the first two colors applied. Note, there is a lot of the aircraft to mask, as the gray flipper scheme is a complete wraparound paint job on the A-10 Warthog. The darker gray color is a complicated pattern, with some areas looking like teardrops, others as hills. The bottom of the engines has a particularly unusual pattern. I am using TCP 900 masking paper throughout this entire process. Our TCP 10606 paint set for the A-10 Warthog in the gray flipper scheme includes a diagram of the three-color camouflage scheme for help in placing each of the masks you will need to achieve the pattern done by the United States Air Force on this aircraft. I begin by masking the left wing first, cutting the curve out for the darker third color near the wing root. Continuing on with the application of our TCP 900 masking paper, I am doing the front part of the aircraft. Note that I use a plastic burnisher to press down the masking to the body. You can remove and reset the masking as needed to get the pattern required. Observe that I can cut any shape needed with a sharp hobby knife and easily peel the backing paper to expose the adhesive side. You may mask any model with confidence using our TCP 900 masking paper and not be concerned you will lift or remove previously applied paint when it is time to remove the masking. Following the diagram supplied in our TCP 10606 paint set, I am now masking the upper side of the right wing. Note that this portion of the A-10 has no TCP 1318 to be applied, so the balance of the exposed right wing will be covered. Masking the top rear portion of the aircraft is fairly easy, as only a small section of the right stabilizer and the upper right corner will be painted with the FS 30081 Aggressor Gray. Cut any size pieces needed for the coverage using a scissor or sharp hobby knife. You can even use scraps of the masking paper to protect the areas needed. At this juncture, I wish to mention that if you want to create a repeatable pattern on the masking paper, you can draw that pattern on a computer and print it on our masking paper using any printer you have. This can be very useful for doing multiple aircraft, ships, or armor have similar patterns or canopies. The tails of the A-10 have the FS36081 painted on each side, so I have to cut the patterns for both the inner and outer portions of the tails. Follow the diagram supplied in our paint set to cut the patterns required and place them on the tails. I then flipped the model over on the stand and I'm masking the underside of the stabilizers first. Both the left and the right stabilizers have sections that need TCP 1318 to be applied. Both engines and the underside of the fuselage have a large area that requires the TCP 1318. According to our diagram, this area extends from about midpoint of the engine undersides to very close to where the stabilizers start at the rear of the aircraft. It is a very complicated pattern, and since there are many rounded components that need coverage, cut small pieces and secure them in place to achieve the pattern required. Our masking paper lends itself for this process easily because it can bend and form around the curvature required. I am now ready to mask the underside of the right wing. Note, there is 4 small areas that have TCP 1318 applied. One area is what I would describe as a hill, another a curved block, and on the wheel section a rectangle. Note, a portion across the underside of the fuselage to the underside near the wing root has a complex pattern. Follow the design as best as you can. The entire leading edge of the underside right wing requires masking. cut whatever pieces are needed to fit in place. Now, the underside of the left wing is masked to fit the pattern on the diagram. Note that the undersides of the speed brakes also need to be masked on both wings. Follow the diagrams as required for masking these as well. Now, the underside of the left wing is masked to fit the pattern on the diagram. Note that the undersides of the speed brakes also need to be masked on both wings. Follow the diagram as required. Finish masking the underside of the fuselage. You have now applied all the masking required to paint the Federal Standard 36081 Aggressor Gray. Note, the model looks like a mummy now. The fuel pod is the last assembly that needs TCP 1318 applied. There is no suggested pattern on the diagram, or none I could find, so I am applying our TCP 900 in a random pattern around the pod. Cut any pattern you like and place it on the entire pod and in the direction that you fancy. If you have any questions about techniques explored in this video, or general questions about this build, please post your questions in the comments section below.